lot of things in its time, but today it embarked on a whole new adventure.
They're literally most people's lifeline to the internet and to each other. So today, I'm very excited to introduce you to a new phone made by Google. We call it Pixel.
Yes, it is their answer to the iPhone, called Pixel, as you just heard. And for many, it represents a big step in how Google does business. The Silicon Valley staple has long been known for its software, but they've traditionally supplied it to other companies to use in their devices, such as smartphones that run on Android. Aside from some high-profile flops like the head-mounted Google Glass, you remember that? The company hasn't spent a whole lot of time branching into Google-designed hardware. But now they say they're betting on it.
What we've found is that we're in an interesting intersection right now where some of the amazing advances we're seeing in machine learning and AI demanded a better hardware experience. And so the intersection is the Pixel.
Now, at this event, there was a lot that was announced, but I do want to talk about the Pixel. Graham Williams joining us right now, tech expert with Pure Image. And Graham, I mean, just your initial take.
Honestly,
this phone.
I think it's phenomenal. I think Google's done a really great job of launching a brand new hardware initiative. This is the first time that they have branded a phone as a Google phone as opposed to a Google phone brought to you by Samsung or brought to you by HTC. I think that's a bold new move for them. They're taking a lot of ownership of it, and I think it's a good move.
And why? So why would they do that? I mean, because it seems like it could be a risky thing, right? They were so good and are so good at software. That's their business.
Taking a look at the market, though, if you take a look at what, say, Apple has done, where they brought everything under one roof, they've got a very consolidated, very focused lineup. That really is what Google is looking to provide, is something where someone can look at the Google brand, see it as something that is quality that they can attach themselves to. They have in the past, when you take a look at things like the Galaxy Note 7, you know, that's an Android product. It's a Samsung product, but Google is attached to it. They don't have any ownership there. Whereas with this phone now, they have full ownership, so they can take responsibility from beginning all the way to consumer experience.
Because I guess people will be wondering, is this going to be a game changer in the smartphone industry? What's your take on that?
I think this is for people in the past who have had Nexus phones or who have had Android phones who are looking to have a very solidified quality Google experience. I don't know that we're going to see a lot of people switch from an iPhone, but you know, there could be some things that people are looking for that they don't necessarily have that the new Pixel phone would be able to provide.
You know, Google is certainly making a conscious effort to try to separate itself from the competition, to distinguish itself. And we have an ad, a piece of a Google ad for the Pixel smartphone. Just have a listen to this. So that, I mean, it's a cute little jab, right, at Apple, the fact that Apple is sort of phasing out the headphone jack quite controversially, right? But I think there's a bigger point there, right, that Google is deciding, you know what, Apple, we're going to take you on head on. Is that what you're seeing too?
Absolutely, and I think the reason they're doing that is because no one else in the market has done a good job of it. Everyone else in the market who was a market leader, Microsoft, Research in Motion, basically they looked at Apple, and when the iPhone came out, the reaction was laughter. You know, this won't be around in 2 years. Apple rapidly became the #1 smartphone provider in the world. And while they don't have the same market share as Android, that Android market share is fragmented. So there's no one who can really look at the iPhone and basically set their sights on it and say, this is it. Samsung's tried, but to be quite honest, I think if we look over the past year, they haven't been able to do that. So Google, looking at this with the headphone jack, obviously it's a very easy target. You know, I think that you'd be able to say, well, you know, the iPhone 7 is waterproof. Is the Pixel? No, it's not. It's not waterproof, pardon me, water resistant. So that's, I think, is sort of the response there. But that headphone jack for a lot of Android users is a rallying cry, right? It's Google supporting us and using technology that we want to use. Well, you want to use your existing headphones? You still can.
How worried do you think Apple is then?
I think that Apple is very secure in their place in the marketplace. I think they are very secure in their audience. I think they're probably looking at this and seeing what they can learn from Google right now. I don't think there's a whole lot of fear over in the Apple campus because I think they know that there's a big enough marketplace for both of them.
Well, and I think of all of the Apple fanboys, for lack of a better, I mean, they're a passionate crowd, right? Mm-hmm. People who are Apple are very decidedly Apple. Does Google have that same kind of following at all?
Absolutely, and I think that the challenge there has been that people have been rallying around Android and not so much around a particular provider. You will find HTC fanboys and you will find Samsung fanboys, but they are relatively few in comparison to the Apple faithful. Whereas Android itself does have a following who are very passionate about the fact that parts of it are open source, that you can customize the operating system, that you do have choice in handsets. So I think this really becomes a bit of a beacon for those people to say, I've got the premium Google handset and I can get behind this because it is as good or better than the iPhone in my mind.
Okay, let me switch gears here because I have something else that I want to show folks at home. And let's just go ahead and run just the visuals here just so people can see what I'm talking about. This is another ad that we're going to play. It's of a phone, looks strikingly similar to the Pixel, but you see it right there. This is the Nexus, right? It's been around for years, but what happens to the Nexus now that the Pixel is coming out?
Well, from what we've seen today, the Nexus program is now finished. It looks like they've been pulling the phones from their site, so Google is now going to be focusing very much on the Pixel as their premium phone going forwards. There was a lot of consternation about that. A lot of end users who love the Nexus phones were very disappointed to see that they're gone. So from what we're seeing right now, there's actually a rush on purchasing what Nexus phones are left because people are so passionate about having those particular models.
Really? That's interesting. But correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, Google has all kinds of products that they launched to great fanfare, but that just sort of petered out, right?
And this is the problem with Google in my mind. I mean, I think they're a great company. I think they've got a lot of really great products, but I feel like sometimes they have ADHD. They're never able to focus on something long enough to really make it work.
What are some examples of that?
Some examples of that, Google Reader is probably, it was one of the best RSS readers. So one of the best ways to get news headlines from the internet. And it became ubiquitous. It killed off countless competitors because they launched into a market where you had to pay for everybody else. Google did it for free. And last year, they killed the product. And it's sort of one of those things where it becomes part of your daily life, and then suddenly it's gone.
Is that hurting them? That ADHD, as you put it?
They're definitely getting a reputation. It's something where, I'm starting to see comments on sites that says, it's great to see this announcement. I can't wait to see the cancellation in a year's time. And it's become more and more frequent. We saw things like the Google On Hub that was launched last year. This was their Wi-Fi router, which they're continuing to push forwards, but it launched with great fanfare. It was an expensive router. It had all of these extra features, and half of them didn't get activated this year. So people have bought this $200 US piece of product and don't have the functionality that wasn't necessarily promised but was implied. It has been, reintegrated into their new Google Wi-Fi product, which also launched today. But it really, you look at it and you say, well, I bought this thing a year ago. What was the promise of my experience over the course of the last year? I think their reputation is being harmed slightly by a lack of focus. And I think the Pixel may actually be the beginning of a new focused Google.
Okay, well, one more thing on the Pixel I want to talk about. And this is another snippet from a Google ad. Take a look.
So if you're on the road, you can ask it where to fill up. And if you're at home, you can ask it to play some music. Or if you're in a chat with a friend, it can show you what's playing tonight. It's like your own personal Google. Naturally, anything you share with it is safe and secure. And the more you use your Google Assistant, the more useful it becomes. Remember, my byte combo is 326.
Got it.
And soon, you'll be able to access it from all sorts of places. So it will be everywhere you are.
So this is part of a big push from Google, Google Assistant, right? I guess it's their answer to things like Siri, Cortana. Some people might hear that and be a little worried.
I think that Google has done a very good job in the past of securing their own databases. I think the worry here may be that we're feeding a lot of information into Google and they're getting a very accurate picture of who we are and what we're about as individuals. Other companies, Apple, for example, they've decided to go in a different direction. They're doing their very best to provide service while also not creating a profile of you, where Google has fully outright said, we are creating a profile so that we can make services better for you. The challenge here is that really these products are not just making services better for you, but they're also being used to tune up Google to make it the very best product that it can be. So all of your voice searches are creating a better voice recognition product. All of the pictures that you take are enhancing their picture recognition engine. Everywhere that you go is enhancing their location services. That is really just, it's creating a better product. The question is, are you as an end user comfortable with it? Some people are, some people aren't.
Well, yeah, because I mean, I guess it's one thing for Google to analyze your search queries and that sort of thing, but it's listening to you talk, right? That sort of seems like it's on a fundamentally different playing field.
And one of the challenges here is that it is always on, so it's always listening for a key phrase. Now, it's not going to be listening to you in detail until you say the words, OK Google.
Right.
We did see something today, though, that I found to be a little bit funny, because OK Google, while it is supposed to be personalized to your voice, while they were using it on stage, it was triggering a phone in the front row. So just someone in the room has to say, OK Google, and now all of these devices are listening all at once. It's a bit of a dystopian thing where it's like, OK, Google is now able to hear me if anybody around me says, OK Google. It's a bit scary.
Still some kinks to work out, I suppose. A lot to talk about there, but Graham Williams, thank you for walking us through it.
Always my pleasure.